Imagine being tied to a tree on Christmas Eve, sentenced to die at dawn, while your captors mock you and load their guns. Then through the darkness, church bells begin to peal. Welcome to America Needs Fatima. I'm Adrian Fonseca. These videos exist to capture the heart and soul of America with the message of Our Lady of Fatima, because it's the solution for our times. Imagine this. You're tied to a tree in a dark forest. Revolutionary soldiers surround you, each one threatening which bullet will end your life. It's Christmas Eve, 1795, and the French Revolution has declared war on God, the church, and everything sacred. You're a Catholic peasant who fought for your faith, and now you're about to die for it. But then something miraculous occurs. Church bells start ringing in the distance. Bells summoning the faithful to midnight mass. Bells that awaken something these hardened soldiers believed that they had extinguished. Bells that will turn this death sentence into something none of them saw coming. So let's go back to that dark forest in France.
From 1793 to 1800, the region of Fougères in northeast France was the scene of the epic struggle of the Chouans. The Chouans were peasants who rose up against the French Revolution in defense of the monarchy and the church. One winter's night in 1795, a column of soldiers of the Revolutionary Republic was making its way along a path skirting a forest. Their steps were heavy. They were bored and they were tired from the enormous weight of the rucksacks and muskets they carried on their backs. They trudged along, leading a peasant prisoner who had tried to ambush them. The peasant had fired his musket at the sergeant, but the bullet passed through the man's hat, ricocheted off a tree, and broke a pipe that another soldier was smoking. The furious soldiers immediately set out in hot pursuit of the fleeing sniper. Hunted down and cornered against a cliff, the peasant had been captured and disarmed. Now he was following the soldiers, hands tied, with an forlorn look. His small, clear eyes watched the hedges along the path, as well as the windy paths that ran off in either direction. Two soldiers wrapped the ends of the ropes tying his wrists around their arms. At the crossroads of Servilliers, the sergeant called a halt. The men, worn out, stacked their weapons and threw their rucksacks on the grass. They proceeded to gather up dry branches and leaves, from which they made a bonfire in the middle of the clearing. At the same time, two of them tied the peasant to a tree with the rope that bound his wrists. The Chouan watched everything that was going on very keenly. He did not tremble, nor did he say a word. But anguish could be seen on his features. He knew that death was at hand. His anxiety did not go unnoticed to one of the Blues, as the soldiers of the Revolution were known. This man had been detailed to keep a close eye on the prisoner. He was a slender adolescent with a mocking and cutting tongue. He made fun of his prisoner, saying in a sharp Parisian accent, "Don't be afraid, Flower. You won't die just yet. You still have 6 hours to live." His comments were interrupted by a loud, gruff voice from across the clearing. "Tie him up well, Pete. We can't let him fly away." "Don't worry, Sergeant Torquatus. We need to take him in one piece to the general." Then the lad went back to his mocking. "You know, you dog, don't think you're going to be treated like those nobles. The Republic's not rich, and there's a shortage of guillotines. But don't worry, you'll get your share of lead bullets. 6 to your head and 6 to your body. So that's something for you to think about till tomorrow morning. It'll keep you entertained." The peasant stood as if not hearing. An impenetrable look settled over his face. Having said this, Private Pete went and sat by his companions by the fire. Taking a piece of coarse bread from his rucksack, he began to eat it tranquilly. Having finished eating, Pete started to clean his musket, He chose a bullet, and holding it delicately in his hands, said to the peasant who was following his every movement, "See this, my child? This one's for you." And he put the bullet in the chamber. Everyone started to laugh, each trying to outdo the other in the macabre game of tormenting the unfortunate prisoner. "I've an equally good dose for you," one shouted. "You're going to be like a sieve," another joked. "I will be last. One for each ear," guffawed Sergeant Torquatus. And then, in a sudden fit of rage, he came up to him. "Oh, you wretched Chouan. I would like to kill 1,000 of you with one shot." The peasant was silent and calm under this barrage of threats. He seemed to be listening to a faraway sound that the shouts and laughter of the soldiers made it difficult to hear. Suddenly, he dropped his head and concentrated. From the depths of the forest, one could hear the sound of a bell ringing in the night. It sounded high and clear as it came on the breeze. Then the wind shifted into the north, and immediately another bell, deeper in tone, began to sound. Soon another joined in, this time more melancholic, coming from another direction. The Blues had fallen silent with surprise and apprehension. They too strained to hear. "What's this?" asked the sergeant. "Why are the bells ringing? Is this a signal? The bandits must be sounding the alarm." Then they all started shouting together, some at the prisoner, some at each other. Many reached for their weapons. The peasant raised his head, and gazing at them serenely, he said, "It is Christmas." "It's what?" replied the sergeant. "Christmas. They are ringing the bells for midnight mass." The soldiers felt foolish and began to curse, then grumble, then fall silent as they took their places once more around the fire. For a while, no one spoke. Christmas. Midnight mass. They had not heard these words for a long time.
You know, those church bells calling Catholics to midnight mass, they weren't just marking the hour. They were keeping faith alive amid a revolution that tried to destroy it. And that's exactly what we're doing through our Child to Mary program. And I want to invite you to join us. When you become a Child to Mary, you're joining a spiritual family dedicated to keeping the faith alive and bringing out all across America. Think about it. While revolutionary soldiers tried to silence the church, faithful Catholics kept the bells ringing on Christmas Eve. Today, you can help us to ensure that the bells of Catholic truth never stop ringing in our time. When you sign up as a Child to Mary today, you'll receive an exclusive lapel pin of Our Lady of Fatima that you can wear with pride. Your name and intentions are remembered in a daily traditional Catholic Mass. A subscription to Crusade magazine is sent directly to your door to keep you informed and inspired with powerful Catholic content. And for only a few more weeks, you will receive an e-book copy of the Immaculate Heart of Mary and God's Plan for America. So click the link below to become a Child of Mary today. Let's keep those bells ringing. Now, back to our soldiers and his prisoner on that fateful Christmas Eve.
It stirred vague memories of happier times, of long-forgotten tenderness, of peace. With heads hung low, they heard those bells that spoke a forgotten language. Sergeant Torquatus put his pipe down, crossed his arms and closed his eyes, as one savoring a symphony. Then, ashamed at this sign of weakness, he turned to the prisoner and asked in a severe tone, "Are you from this area?" "I'm from Cogley, not too far from here." The sergeant became interested. "So, there are priests in your town?" "The Blues have not taken everything. They have not crossed the Couesnon River, so on that side one still lives in freedom. Can't you hear? It is the bell of Paris Gay that is ringing now. That other, smaller one is from the castle of the Lord of Boisguy. And that one further off is the bell of Montour. If the wind were right, we could even hear the big bell of Londian. One of the soldiers, called Gilles, had been silent while the others had been threatening the Chouan. He now listened attentively and seemed to be moved. The others, after a momentary feeling of tenderness, had already closed their hearts. At that moment, from every point of the compass, the tolling of faraway village bells could be heard. It was a sweet melody that rose louder or softer depending on the wind. Gilles hung his head and listened. He thought of things forgotten long ago. He saw the church of his native village, resplendent with lighted candles, the manger with its big stones covered in moss where the little red and blue lamps shone. He heard in his memory the joyful Christmas hymns that had been sung for generations. They were innocent hymns, as old as France, speaking of shepherds, flutes, stars, and children, of peace, pardon, and of hope. He felt his heart melt in the good warmth of these gentle images he had for so long forgotten. The bells continued to toll from afar. Torquatus ordered everyone to sleep and put Gilles on the first watch. It took no time at all to set up an improvised camp, and the Blues, exhausted by the day's toils and wishing to forget the sound of those bells that had brought them so many memories from their happy childhoods, snored away, stretched out on their sleeping mats. The fire still crackled, but less so. Only Gilles and the Chouan were awake. The Blue then went over to where the Chouan was tied up. "Do you know," the soldier said, "where I come from? We used to make a huge manger in the church, and we would place the infant Jesus there, surrounded by Our Lady and Saint Joseph." And then he suddenly said, "Do you want to go free?" "What about you? They will tear you to pieces." "I'll go with you. I'm fed up with this rag of a war. Anyway, I was enlisted without a choice. My family's Catholic. At home, from my earliest days, they taught me to respect the king." "Then come with me," the Chouan answered. "Be faithful once again. I will take you to a priest so you can go to confession. Together, we will fight for our Lord Jesus Christ and the king." The Blue said no more, but took his knife from his pouch and sliced the ropes that bound the prisoner. It was not long before both had slipped away into the blackness of the night. One could no longer hear the bells in the wind, but they continued to ring in the hearts of the two men. It was Christmas.
What a powerful reminder of Christmas's transformative power. Those church bells stirred the human soul's longing for God. That soldier had been conscripted into an army that despised everything that he was raised to believe. He had been taught to hate the king, to mock the church, and to forget his Catholic childhood. And yet, when those Christmas bells rang out across that dark forest, calling the faithful to celebrate the birth of our Savior, all the revolutionary lies vanished in an instant. We may not face the guillotine, but we face our own spiritual battles. Our culture tries to drown the bells in the cathedral in our souls, to drown out the message of Christmas with consumerism and empty worldly celebrations. But just as those bells rang out in revolutionary France, the truth of Christmas still rings clear for those of us who have ears to hear it. This Christmas, don't let the world drown out the true meaning. Listen for the bells. Hear the call to worship the newborn King. Remember, a tiny infant, born in poverty, came to save you, to free you, and to bring you home to the Father. And if this story touched your heart, you'll love our Advent Christmas playlist, filled with stories just like this one. So click it. I think you'll really enjoy it. Have a blessed Christmas. May God bless you, and Mary Immaculate keep you under her mantle. God love you.